Hello everyone, welcome back to Weapon Comparisons. This is going to be a bit of a different thing, just another extra episode. Essentially, this one's just going to be covering weapon recoil. So, of course, we're going to go to our favorite firing wall and explain the differences. Okay, so I already have patterns here, but we'll work on it. Essentially, the way Insurgency Sandstorm works is I'm going to show how each part of the recoil system works. And so, from the very start, hipfire, there is no set pattern for hipfire, so there is no control for hipfire. So, for example, let's just go ahead and try to hipfire this wall, and you're just going to see the gun jump around left to right. So, 3, 2, 1. So as you see, it's a fairly wide pattern, not very reliable, not very consistent, and it's nowhere near what you would see in a game like Counter-Strike Source or any other hipfire shooter. It's not really designed for it, and to put even more on the point, there's no crosshair or anything in the middle to actually give you an idea as to where you're firing when you are in that hipfire mode. It just goes into this ovalish left to right pattern. There is kick to it still. It's not like there's no kick or it won't ride high. You can still control some recoil to it, but as regards to where the bullets go, not really. So, with that in mind, I'm also going to talk about stances and weapon sway. So in this game, there is weapon sway, so as I'm aiming down, let's get a more dynamic wall here. Sandbags typically work for this. This should work. So as I'm aiming down, you can see that my optic is moving around in a somewhat random pattern, left to right, up and down, and it's kind of making this little U shape as I look at it. So it definitely isn't going to be able to keep you where you want to aim precisely. Now, if I were to crouch, the sway is more reduced. You see there's a little bit of a pause there before the sway kicks in, and the sway is a lot more minimal compared to just standing up. And if I were to go prone, the sway pauses for a little longer, slightly longer, and the sway is even more reduced. So you get to stay on target a lot more often when you are in prone than you are in any other stance. Another thing that does help with sway and reduces sway entirely is by using your focus. And that focus will last for as long as you have breath. And once it runs out, like it did there, it goes back to the sway. And the sway is going to be a little more dramatic during this moment until I reset. Because you're using your soldier's stamina. And so once your stamina resets, your sway will go back to normal. And the same thing for going crouched. And the same for going prone. So typically, if you want the best case scenario, whenever you line up on a shot, you'd want to be aiming in their direction, hit your focus, and take a shot. And then you want to let go of that shift so you regain that focus as soon as possible. So that way when you get to your next target, you still got breath, you can take another shot. And you just want to get into that pattern of line up your shot, take your breath, take a shot. And you just want to try and make it as quick as possible. Now the other thing to mention is your focus is tied, well not tied, but it's by default it is bound to your sprint button. So it can get a little weird when you're running, you're getting out of sprint and you're trying to get into that focus. So you may want to try working with another bind, maybe a mouse bind if you have one of those available, and just experiment with that, because you're seeing, so long as I'm holding W, I can't get into my breath. I have to let go of walking entirely in order to initiate that breathing. So just something you may want to experiment with, and I may want to experiment with as to get the best optimized way to get to your breath. Okay, and the last thing to show you in regards to recoil is this, the bipod. You do have two options for bipods, and you have this regular bipod, and you also have the foregrip bipod. And there is a difference between the two. And just to show you real quick, this regular bipod will have very, very little, if at any, sway, aim outside sway. So if I were to just aim here, you see it stays right on target, and now the sway starts to kick in. So it's a very long delay before that sway starts to kick in, and even then it's still pretty minimal. So you got plenty of time to really get your sights where you need them to go. However, if we were to use the foregrip bipod, let me equip that.
Yeah, good to go.
You see there's no delay at all for that sway to start to kick in, and it's more or less the same type of sway you would get regularly, just with regular attachments. But the foregrip isn't just about sway, it's also about your actual overall recoil. So this should definitely help you in any case with your recoil control. And indeed it does so. So let me go ahead and see the difference between this and the bipod.
Alright, I'm good.
So there's a very big difference there. Let me get closer for that. So as you see up here, this is the foregrip bipod, and this is the bipod only. So there's definitely a big difference between one and the other, and you still get a very good cluster, just that you still get that kick if you're not ready for it. And with the bipod, there's little to no kick whatsoever. Of course, there are issues with the bipod if you ever want to use it, which is that it is going to make you a little less mobile. It's going to make you an easier target to hit. You don't really get to head glitch when you're using a bipod of any sort. So you do kind of stand up and out of whatever surface you're doing this on. So it's best that if you do this, you want to be close to cover and just in a way where you can dip in and out of combat relatively quickly. Because if not, you are a very easy target. And you also have a little bit of a mobility problem with your range. As you see, that's as far as I can look. I can't quite cover that entrance over there to the far right. I'm stuck just looking at the stairs. And even the stairs I can't even defend. So then over here, pretty much up to the post. So you will have that limited range of mobility, and you will just have to reset wherever you really need to look at. So if you want the best attachment for recoil control, it definitely would be the bipod. And then using your shift focus that we talked about earlier, you're not going to miss. So
I'm reloading. Cover me. I'm reloading.
like I said, you're not going to miss. I just lit up the entire target without any issue. So just for proof, that's every single shot. Maybe one got away, but that's every single shot. So I hope this video is helpful to you. I hope this helps you better understand the recoil. Okay, let's end by potting in the air now. That's just an issue. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the gun and how to deal with recoil overall. We already cover foregrip and compensators in every other weapon comparisons episode, so you can check out those. Essentially, a foregrip is going to help you with your vertical, a compensator is going to help you with your horizontal. However, it does act differently from weapon to weapon, so it is a case-by-case basis as to which one will benefit you more, and that's why those videos are there. On top of just comparing two weapons to see how close or how not similar they are, and which one do I prefer. So, with all that said, thank you for watching. I'm Mr. Rain, and I'll see you guys next time.